Good morning. Today is Tuesday, April 30th, and we are hanging out in the southernmost area of Key West today. We're planning on doing Fort Zachary, Hemingway House. We have a sunset cruise later on, which we're very excited about. But so far this morning, we started our day going to the Southernmost Point, which we'll put in footage now. And here is the southernmost point in the Continental USA. We were here about 8:30 this morning, so we don't have to wait a long line for it. And I say it's a pretty good idea. We are currently eating breakfast at Blue Heaven. I love the atmosphere. It's just kind of like in a mix of like trees and umbrellas, and it's cool breeze. We have roosters and chickens running around. The menu looks amazing. Like I couldn't decide what I wanted. Everything looks so good. But very, very excited for everything we have planned for today.
Hello and welcome to We Do Stuff Sometimes, also known as We Overdo Stuff Sometimes. We're here at Blue Heaven. It's almost like a market cafe vibe going on. Very tropical theme, some great atmosphere going on here. They have some great seafood breakfast options as well as lunch and dinner, and we'll let you know when we get some food.
We'll show you more of the restaurant in a moment, but first, here's the outside of the place. This is the gift shop. And here is the outside view of the place. Located in historic Bahama Village, this structure has a century-old history. Originally, it was Dade County Pine selling spirits to residents. Through the years, the property has hosted cockfighting, gambling, and Friday night boxing matches refereed by Ernest Hemingway. The downstairs operated as a billiard hall and ice cream parlor. A dance hall, a bordello, and a playhouse have occupied the second floor. But in 1992 was the start of the Blue Heaven we are eating at today. I love the atmosphere here. It's tropical and whimsical, very carefree and relaxing. They have live entertainment, colorful umbrellas, mismatched mugs and tables, and plenty of roosters running about. Blue Heaven's menu: breakfast with the roosters, lunch in the shade. There's fruit bowl with Betty's house-made banana bread, Richard's very good pancakes made from scratch. There's plain, banana, pineapple, blueberry, or pecan, and various Blue Heaven Benedicts with ways to jazz it up. Bakery fresh homemade granola, and a breakfast sandwich with eggs, cheddar, and your choice of meat. There's the Rooster Special that includes 2 eggs, potatoes or grits, bacon or spicy sausage, and either little pancakes, toast, or banana bread. Your favorite omelet with your choice of up to 4 add-ons, shrimp and grits, lobster and grits, and a la carte items. For lunch, items include vegan black bean soup, various salads, mahi-mahi options, Tennessee burger, and Andy's grilled sharp cheddar cheese and tomato sandwich. There are 3 house-made dessert options: key lime pie, banana heaven, and Belgian chocolate torte. There are plenty of drink options, including Blue Heaven mimosas, wake-up cocktails like Blue Sky Bloody Mary or Key West coffee, and specialty cocktails like It's a Small World Apparel, Heaven's Punch, Clarified Painkiller Milk Punch, or Hemingway Old Fashioned. And of course, there are plenty of beers, ciders, seltzers, wines, champagne, and non-alcoholic beverages like juice or coffee. So you got...
This is the Lobster Benedict.
Lobster Benedict. That looks so pretty.
And they use, I guess, key lime infused hollandaise.
Oh.
But I like the little tower of fruit. It's very pretty.
And then I ended up going a la carte. I got a pecan pancake and I got a banana pancake. Very excited. Oh, so excited. This was like my #1 place I wanted to try when we were here. So, super, super excited.
And if it's good, I'm tempted to get back for lunch.
So here's their gift shop. You can buy their granola or their banana bread. You can also buy their key lime pie. And they have just tons of art. You can get hats, little baby kid shirts and onesies. And some more shop merch.
Okay. All right. Hi. How are you? Good. How was your? You had a weekend getaway. It was nice. It was good. Yeah. Busy. Good. Yeah.
It's now about 10:14, and the line has gotten significantly longer. And we were told that this is like still the on-off season for tourists, so it can be busy some days, not so much others. We are now headed to Fort Zachary Taylor Historic State Park. This state park isn't just the fort, but also has Key West's favorite beach where you can picnic, swim, snorkel, paddle, and fish. The park is open from 8 a.m. until sundown 365 days a year, but the fort closes at 5 p.m. It costs $6 per vehicle. Fort Taylor was designed in 1843 by Colonel Joseph Totten, Chief of the U.S. Armed Corps of Engineers. The fort was to be a key installation in the Army's third-tier system of 42 coastal fortifications. Its purpose was to guard the harbor at Key West as well as the island itself. It was built on a hard rock shawl by Irish brick masons with red clay brick reinforced with natural cement. The fort was 2.5 stories tall and the walls formed a trapezoid. It towered almost 50 feet above the water and had outer walls over 5 feet thick. Well, I guess we found where the tours are.
Where's it? Nope.
Some quick facts. Longest serving U.S. coastal fortification, originally sited 1,100 feet off the island of Key West, held by the Union Army for the duration of the American Civil War, never fired upon, only surviving Civil War era desalination plant? Desalination.
No, sorry.
We are now joining the Ranger Tour that starts here daily at 11 a.m.
Well, these cannonballs here are 15-inch cannonballs. They weigh about 382 pounds. So they are very heavy. We've had kids knock them off and roll them off of here, and I don't know how they didn't lose a toe, but I've actually tried to roll one of these, and it's too hard to even push and roll around. I'm sure Brooke could do it.
There are different cannonballs and mortar shots that were shot out of the various cannons used at the fort over the years. Sallyport is accessed by crossing a wooden causeway from the island. A moat and drawbridge protected the fort from unauthorized access.
Only one way into the fort. The other way would be getting a ship and climbing the walls and all of that. So, and outside of the fort, it would have been low-lying. The water level wouldn't have been high enough to let ships come in and out. So it was very easy defensible. These doors on the sides over here, those are jail cells. So those were meant for the soldiers that went out to town, drank a little too much. They had to go in there for a night or so and dry out. But there was also one important person that was a prisoner in this jail cell, and it was Dr. Mudd. Anybody hear of him, Dr. Mudd? He was the doctor that fixed John Wilkes Booth's leg after he had assassinated Abraham Lincoln, jumped off the balcony onto the theater floor, broke his ankle or leg, and then Dr. Mudd fixed it. And then Dr. Mudd was tried for treason because he helped John Wilkes Booth out. So he was sent here and then eventually sent out to the Dry Tortugas to Fort Jefferson, and he spent about 3 years at Fort Jefferson as a prisoner at Fort Jefferson. It was more of a prison camp out there. Dr. Mudd actually tried to escape one time, and then they brought him back. He was a good person for here and at Fort Jefferson because sometimes he was the only doctor on site. So he was actually here as a prisoner, but he helped some of the soldiers and the dying and the sick people that had yellow fever at times. He was here to help them. So after the war, he was pardoned for his crimes. He was never exonerated, so he was a good guy, but they didn't say he was a good guy.
This is a closer look at the jail cell.
Just tiny, huh? That would be terrible.
And this wooden door is the sally port, the only entrance to the port. In 1850, the fort was named after U.S. President Zachary Taylor, who died in office earlier that year. Throughout the 1850s, construction slowed due to yellow fever, shortages of material and labor, remoteness, and hurricanes. These rooms over here are part of the barracks. The 3-story barrack located on the gorge, or landward side of the fort, served as the center of life for its soldiers. Facilities included sleeping quarters, offices, chapels, kitchens, dining rooms, tidal flush latrines, and an infirmary.
The canned food, some of it was good, corn, yeast, stuff like that, but some of it was not so good. Some of the canned food that you see in there, it was canned lobster, canned oysters. At that time, that was not a delicacy.
This is the infirmary. Even though the fort never came under attack during the war, many died at Fort Taylor, chiefly falling prey to typhoid and yellow fever.
It's more of the same.
Anybody gotta go?
This fort is an exact copy of the forts along the East Coast, which created a problem for their tidal flush toilets. The tides in Key West are too shallow, so there wasn't enough water to flush the toilets. Instead, they had to collect water to flush them. Fort Taylor was originally constructed 1,200 feet offshore from Key West. In the mid-1960s, the U.S. Navy mounted a dredging project and decided to lock the fort. Shortly after the park opened, they dug a moat around the fort to prevent easy entry and give the illusion of being surrounded by water like in the fort's early days.
This cannon could shoot up to 3 miles, but it wasn't accurate. So these types of cannons, round ball style cannons, as the cannon went out, you hope it goes straight and hits what it's aiming at, but sometimes it'll go left, sometimes it'll go right, up, down, whatever way. That's the reason why you have up to 200 cannons in this fort, because eventually you're going to hit what you're aiming at some point. These cannons could weigh up to 17,000 pounds, and it could take up to 15 minutes to fire a round when the war was active. When these cannons were first developed, it would take up to 45 minutes to fire a round. The reason why they developed a strategy to get these to fire quickly is because they used water to cool them and clean them so that you could get them cool enough to shoot the next round. If you didn't cool it properly and you didn't wait long enough, the back end of this cannon could just explode, and that wouldn't be a good day. So they came up with an idea. If you can see this hole right over here, that's a point to get to the cistern to pull the water out. So there would have been timbers underneath of our feet. There still are timbers under our feet, and then they put the layer of block granite and slate under our feet so that it made a smooth surface. So those cisterns are still active underneath of our feet, and it was all built on top of timbers. So you first have your granite out there, timbers across here, rock and soil on the outside there, and a big swimming pool all around us underneath this. The reason why you have the arches and the way this is built is so that it can withstand all of the vibration and noise and concussion from the cannons and stuff. Now we have this cannon here. This is a parrot rifle cannon. I showed you over there parrot rifled shells. They look like bullets. This acted just like a modern day gun, a rifled gun, where there is a groove right here and it has a quarter turn in it going back to the back, and a quarter turn. And it goes back to the back. So as this cannon was fired, you would have the round coming out and starting to spin, and it would create the inertia to get it to go straight. So now this cannon can go up to 5 miles, and it can shoot accurately, and it can hit what you're trying to aim at pretty effectively within a mile or two.
Key West was the headquarters of the East Coast blockading fleet, which was charged with preventing the flow of goods and war materials into and out of Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. As blockade runners were captured by the U.S. Navy, they were brought to Key West. During World Wars I and II, the fort protected the submarine and destroyer forces from the nearby U.S. naval station. In World War II, two 90mm M1 anti-motor torpedo boat guns were placed adjacent to and on Battery Attery. They provided anti-shipping and anti-aircraft defense for the U.S. naval station.
It is. So none of this, like, this was butt up against the water, right?
Yeah, like all these dunes weren't here. This looks so much bigger on the map.
It does. I didn't think it was gonna be this small.
In 1845, Fort Zachary Taylor was constructed. When completed, the fort was 3 stories tall, held 140 cannons, and was home to almost 450 soldiers. In 1861, the Union Army took control of the fort during the American Civil War. In 1898, the fort walls were reduced to 1.5 stories, and the Battery Osceola was added. In 1914 to 1945, it continued to serve in World Wars I and II. In 1962, it served as a radar installation during Cuban Missile Crisis. In 1971, it was designated as a National Historic Site. In 1973, it was designated as a National Landmark, and in 1981, the state park formally opened to the public. In 1866, the fort mounted 198 cannons and housed 450 men. There were basins in each of the four corners, which provided protection from enemy forces attempting to scale the outer walls. An extension sand and masonry cover face was designed to protect the landward side of the fort, which was accessed by a causeway and drawbridge. Battery Eatery was designed in the early 1890s as part of the Endicott period upgrades to Fort Taylor. It was 2 stories tall and built in place of the American Civil War casemates. When the U.S. entered World War I, there was a widespread removal of the coastal defense weapons for service in Europe. Many of the gun and mortar tubes were removed and modified for mounting on the mobile carriages. The artifacts were buried in 1898 under the direction of Lieutenant C.H. McKinstry of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Some were placed in the concrete face of the Battery Osceola, while others were buried in the gunrooms in front of the battery's south face. This unwittingly ensured the bulk of the fort's armaments would be preserved for the future. The rest of our day will be continued in our next video. We had so much fun so far on our second day in Key West. Blue Heaven was the #1 restaurant I wanted to try, and it was better than I had hoped for. The fun tropical vibe with roosters running about was a perfect way to start the morning, and the food was so amazing. I'm glad we were able to see the southernmost point of the continental US before it was too crowded. And Fort Zachary Taylor was a lot smaller than I expected, but it was cool to visit and we learned a lot. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the second part of our day here at Key West.